Narcissist. The earring under the bed. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Although the title of this video may well sound like an Alan Bennett play, I can assure you it isn't. I know that one of the things that you find extremely helpful in relation to my work is when I provide you with video footage and break down what's happening. Whether it was the extensive dissection that I undertook some time ago involving Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie, or the various video footages that are produced in relation to this one's wife. You found them very useful in understanding aspects of narcissism and the narcissistic dynamic. Whether there has been a video analysis, for instance, in relation to Alec Baldwin, what he has said, and also his wife, Hilaria Baldwin, or the analysis of the behaviour of a particular police officer. Seeing it played out and analysed gives you an added dimension. Well, you have a further opportunity to learn here as a consequence of a video that was sent to me, which involves a confrontation between the intimate partner primary source and an individual who's evidently a narcissist. It revolves around a mysterious earring being found under the bed. And I'm going to break down what is happening in the interaction to help you understand more about the particular types of manipulation and dynamic as it takes place. Let's first play the first part of the footage. Here it comes.
I have a question for you. Who did you have in the bedroom?
What?
Who did you have in the bedroom?
What do you mean who I had in the bedroom?
I cleaned up the bedroom last night. Who did you have in the bedroom?
I had somebody in the bedroom.
Who did you have in the bedroom?
Who you had in the bedroom? I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't know what I'm talking about, but you're smiling.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
And I went to that spiritualist lady and she told me, she said, clean underneath your bed.
Uh-huh.
And when I cleaned underneath my bed, I found it.
What did you find?
Who did you have in the bedroom?
What did you find?
Who did you have in the bedroom?
I'll tell you who I had in the bedroom when you tell me what you found.
For real? Who did you have in the bedroom?
I'll tell you when you tell me what you found.
I found a gold ring that doesn't belong to me.
A gold ring?
Yep.
Which ring?
Who did you have in the bedroom?
I don't know what you're talking about. I plead the fifth.
So you gonna sit there and smile and plead the fifth? Now,
that's the best thing to do is plead the fifth because I have no idea what you're
I
talking
could
about.
tell she's some type of little cheap hussy, whoever she was, because this earring here that I found, you guys see this? This earring here that I found, this cheap shit right here, I found it underneath the bed on your side of the bed. And I don't wear no fucking flower earrings. So whose earring is it?
Okay. The intimate partner primary source victim is behind the camera and is filming the narcissist head on. He's staring straight into the camera. She begins with a question. Who do you have in the bedroom? As you'll know by now, that you only ever have 3 interactions with the narcissist. The provision of pure fuel, challenge fuel, or wounding. Here, because she's asking him a question, she's providing challenge fuel. She's providing fuel because she's speaking to him. She's providing fuel because of the words she's using, the tone, the look on her face, the look in her eyes, and her body language. She sounds fairly calm at this juncture, asking the question in a level-headed manner. Nevertheless, she is still providing him with fuel, but because she's questioning him, it's challenge fuel. Therefore, his narcissism must immediately move to nullify this threat to control, and he does so with a very basic what. The victim asks again and expands on who did you have in the bedroom. Rather than make any admission, he has to deal with, again, a threat to control, and this time he does so by triangulation, as he turns to the woman on the left who I'm not sure who she might be, possibly a daughter or a friend, and asks, "Who did you have in the bedroom?" thus deflecting from the question being posed towards him by triangulating the IPPS with this other individual, who we will assume is a non-intimate secondary source. The victim again questions, "Who did you have in the bedroom?" This time, he issues a simple denial. "I don't know what you're talking about." And as he does so, there's a smirk. This is because he's actually reveling in the fuel that's being provided to him, and the narcissism, as part of provoking the victim, causes him to smirk. If you want to understand more about the precise nature of the smirk, I'd invite you to watch the video of that name. But what is actually happening is that because he's being fueled by her and she's not landing any blows, he's repeatedly able to nullify the threat to control in that moment. This makes him feel powerful. And the narcissism can't help itself but cause him to smirk. It's not the smirk of, "I know what I've done and I got away with it," but rather it's the smirk of, "I'm powerful and you're useless." The lady then explains that a spiritualist had advised her to clean under the bed. This time, he asks the question, "What did you find?" She doesn't respond with an answer, but instead repeats once again, "Who did you have in the bedroom?" He meets a question with a question, a typical narcissist response. "What did you find?" She asks again, "Who did you have in the bedroom?" He's toying with her and is reveling in this. He smirks once again and says, "I tell you who I had in the bedroom if you tell me what you found." Note that in the course of nullifying the threat to control posed by her asking, "Who did you have in the bedroom?" his narcissism has caused him to offer a bargain. But if you have any degree of skill, you'd immediately recognize you've just admitted that you've had somebody in the bedroom by offering this kind of bargain. And that just shows how close the collateral consequences are. That she's wanting to know who was in there, and in order to nullify that threat to control, he responds by saying, "I'll offer you a bargain," because he feels he's in a position of power to do so. "If you tell me what you found, because I need to know, my not knowing is a threat to my control, I'll let you know who I had in the bedroom," which of course is an admission that there was somebody in there. But it's not a true admission. It's done in order to nullify the threat to control posed by her question. She answers and explains, "I found a gold ring which doesn't belong to me." "A gold ring," he repeats. "Which room?" Notice that he immediately reneges on the deal that he offered, whereby he would tell her who was in the room. This is unsurprising, of course, because he has no accountability to the deal that he proposed. The victim doesn't answer as to which room, but asks, "Who did you have in the bedroom?" once again. Throughout all of her questioning, she has remained fairly level-headed, but she is still providing him with fuel. He then issues another denial, the first line of the twin lines of the narcissistic defense. "I don't know what you're talking about." He then goes on to state, "I plead the fifth." He smirks again, because he's being fueled. She's not landing any real blows, and his narcissism is in effect mocking her, provoking her with the smirk. He continues, "I figure this is the best thing to do, as I don't know what you're talking about." The victim responds by explaining she's some kind of cheap hussy. She then shows the earring to the camera and explains, "It was found on your side of the bed, and I don't wear flower earrings." Thus, she's presenting the evidence to show that an object, an earring, which doesn't belong to her, was found in the bedroom, and therefore that is of questionable provenance. Throughout this, she has repeatedly threatened his control by asking these questions as to who was in the bedroom. Each time, he nullifies that threat to control either through denial, triangulation, deflection, provocation through the smirk, and he's receiving fuel. Therefore, he also remains calm. There's no ignition of fury, although that will have started His narcissism is keeping it in check because it isn't necessary for him to explode. His manipulative palette has suitable manipulations in terms of the ones that I've just described to ensure that each time she thrusts at him, so to speak, with a sword, he parries the blow. She thrusts, he parries. She thrusts, he parries. But let's now see what happens next.
You don't remember you
Listen, don't play me like I'm no fool. Because I don't wear earrings like this. I wear hoops. So whose earring is this?
Man, I don't know who earring it was. What you want to do about it? I bet you don't want to do nothing about it.
So you want to take my seriousness as a joke right now? Whose earring is it?
I have the slightest idea.
How'd it get under the bed?
I don't know.
So you gonna sit there and you gonna smile and think that shit is funny right now?
You put it under the bed.
Why would I put something like this under the bed?
You trying to blackmail me.
Are you serious?
You trying to make it seem like that it was another girl to get mad at me, but you the one that put it up under the bed.
Are you really serious right now?
Who you had in the bed?
Are you really serious right now?
Who you had in the bed?
I didn't have nobody in the bed.
You had to have somebody in the bed.
This is a woman's earring.
That's a man's earring.
This is... Are you serious, Kayla? Does this look like a man's earring?
That's a man's earring.
What man?
You went to the swap shop and had it modified.
Do you hear yourself right now?
Do you hear yourself?
So far, the lady has been relatively calm in her questioning. But now, she's starting to become exasperated, which is a typical response when dealing with the obstruction and denial of the narcissist. She proclaims, "Don't play me like I'm no fool. I don't wear earrings like this. I wear hoops. So whose earring is this?" Her raised voice just provides more fuel. It is, of course, challenge fuel because she's not backing down. She continues to press with the questions. The narcissist replies, "I don't know whose earring it was. What are you going to do about it?" Use of threat. She replies, "You're going to take my seriousness as a joke. Whose earring is it?" Again, she presses, issuing challenge fuel. He then sings, mocking her, "I haven't the slightest idea." "How did it get under the bed?" asks the victim. "I don't know," he replies. He continues to stare at her with an unwavering gaze, which is part of the narcissistic manipulation of intimidation. He smirks once again, because although she keeps going and asking questions, she keeps giving him the very fuel that he requires. And while she's challenging him, it's not causing him any problems. He just keeps batting it back. Each time she tries to land a blow, he dodges it. "You're going to sit there and smile and think that's funny," declares the victim. There is then a shift in tactic by the narcissism in order to try and nullify this threat to control. He responds with, "You put it under the bed." This is a typical shift in the form of the manipulation by issuing a false accusation and in effect engaging in projection. Whilst he didn't put it under the bed, it was his activity with another woman that led to it being there, but now he accuses the victim of being the problem. A very typical shift in the dynamic that the narcissist invariably engages in. The victim, of course, is getting drawn into all of this. Rather than present him with the evidence, which is, "I know you've had another woman in our bed because I found an earring," stating her case and then walking away, and presumably sensibly ending the relationship on the basis of his infidelity, she continues to try and find out to get him to issue an admission. But she's getting sucked into the game playing herself, because as he accuses her of putting it under the bed, she then replies, "Why would I put something like this under the bed? Are you serious?" She's immediately got drawn into his game playing. He replies, answering her question, because he's turned tables on her now. You tried to make it seem like it was another girl to get mad at me. In part, victim mentality of the narcissist is showing with that observation. You're the perpetrator. I'm the victim. You're picking on me. You've deliberately done this to try and cause a fight. The victim, of course, is absolutely flabbergasted at this accusation. Are you really serious right now? She asks. Challenge fuel once again. But she's on the back foot. He then says, who've you had in the bed? He starts to become the accuser. No longer is he being accused of having somebody in the bed, but he's completely turned the tables to suggest that she's the wrongdoer. I've had nobody in the bed, replies the victim, demonstrating her truth-seeker trait, wanting to explain to him that she's done nothing wrong, but again getting drawn into his machinations. Notice how she feels compelled to answer when she's being accused, a typical position of the empathic victim. You had to have had somebody in the bed, he accuses her once again. It was a woman's earring, protests the victim. That's a man's earring, states the narcissist. The earring is clearly that which belongs to a female, but in that instance his narcissism tells him that that's a man's earring, causing him to issue the accusation towards her. Are you serious? Queries the victim. Does this look like a man's earring? She asks, issuing more challenge fuel. That's a man's earring, he says very clearly. Do you hear yourself right now? Protests the victim. Do you hear yourself right now? He replies, maintaining a steady stare at her and mirroring her response. In a short period of time, he has found himself moved from being accused to being the accuser. This is a typical shift in the manipulation by a narcissist, and it's working. She is no longer asking him about who was in the bed. She's having to defend herself against suggestions that she's had somebody else in the bed. Let's continue watching and see where it gets to next.
Okay. I'm going to ask you one more time.
You took that, you went to the swap shop, had it modified to look like a female's earring when it was
This is a flower with a cheap stone in the middle.
It wasn't a flower.
So what was it?
You had it modified, the jeweler modified it for you so that it looks like a female so you can say that I had somebody in the bed.
Are you serious? That's the story you're going to stick with right now?
That's what you did.
This is a flower.
You don't think that you went.
Can you guys see this?
You went to the
it won't even
swap
show
shop
up.
and had it modified.
He's saying that this ugly ass flower that you can barely even see, I'm sorry guys, that I had this modified.
I know, I know what shop you went to too.
Is there something wrong with you?
Look, tomorrow we gonna go over to the shop. Watch, I'm gonna take you to the shop tomorrow, and he gonna be like, "Yeah, she came here yesterday and had it modified to look like a female earring."
Are you serious right now?
Yes.
Do you hear the story that you coming up with?
I'm telling you, that's what happened.
Okay, put your shoes on. I'm taking you to the hospital. You need to go get checked.
I ain't going nowhere. I told you what happened. You modified it.
I'm done. I'm completely done. I'm leaving now. Goodbye.
The victim has continued to provide him with fuel and challenged him. He's in a comfortable position. He's receiving fuel that he requires, and she's not landing any blows on him. His ignited fury has not spilled forth. It's kept under control as a consequence of his repeated denials and then turning the tables to engage in false accusation and projection. The victim states, "Okay, I'm going to ask you one more time." He interrupts, showing a lack of boundary recognition. You took an earring to the swap shop, had it modified to look like a female earring. False accusation. The victim states this was a flower. The narcissist says it wasn't a flower. The victim asks, so what was it? Challenge fuel issued once again. He responds, you had it modified, false accusation, so it looks like a female, so that you could say that I had somebody in the bed. Victim, false accusation. The actual victim is stunned and therefore asks not unreasonably, are you serious? He reaffirms it. That's what you did. false accusation. The victim, again finding herself stuck in a circular conversation, states, "This is a flower." She then shows the earring to the camera, asking, "Can you guys see this?" The fact that she's filming this conversation and also producing the earring demonstrates that this is not the first time that she's come up against such preposterous denials issued by this narcissist. The narcissist, however, is going for the jugular. "I know which shop you went to, too." He continues to stare. He's completely unperturbed. He believes everything that he's saying. It is his truth. At this juncture, she is so staggered at the audacity of what he's explaining, she then responds with, "Is there something wrong with you?" She is expressing her disbelief, a common position for a victim in such a conversation. The narcissist goes even further. "Tomorrow we are going to go over to the shop, and they'll say she came here yesterday to have it modified to look like a flower earring." Again, his narcissism is causing him to future fake, to rely upon a future event which may or may not happen for the purpose of controlling her in the now. He genuinely believes what he's saying because his narcissism causes him to do so. Again, the victim is absolutely flummoxed. "Are you serious right now? Do you hear the story you are telling?" The narcissist states, as if he was just reporting on the weather, "I'm telling you, that's what happened." At this juncture, somewhat resigned, she replies, "Okay, put your shoes on, I'm taking you to the hospital to get checked." She clearly cannot understand why he maintains the position that he does, because it does not accord with the reality as she sees it. That, of course, is challenge fuel. He rejects it by stating, "I ain't going nowhere. I told you what happened. You modified it." He repeats the accusation again. At this juncture, the victim has been stunned into silence, and she responds by stating, "You know, I'm completely done. I'm leaving now." He barely reacts. Why? Because her admission that she's done and that she's leaving removes the threat to control. In effect, his narcissism has done the job. He has been fueled, and he's rejected the allegations. Thus, he can sit there calmly. Whether she did actually leave thereafter or end the relationship, I do not know. But this is a fantastic example of showing you various different manipulations in effect. Many of you watching this will have experienced a similar situation to that of this intimate partner primary source. The exasperation of not being able to get through to the narcissist, the nature of the circular conversation, the projection, the repeated false accusations. This narcissism dealt with the challenges effectively. On the face of it, to an objective observer, he has been caught out. He has evidently committed an act of infidelity at least once with a female who has left behind an earring. But he doesn't erupt. There's no shouting and screaming. He doesn't use physical violence. He sits, and maintaining an unwavering stare in order to try and intimidate his accuser, he simply bats back the accusations again and again and again. He's able to do so because he's being fueled at the same time. Thus, as she provides that fuel and the nature of the accusations are made, then he simply denies. And even when he is presented with actual evidence that would confirm that somebody else has been in the bedroom, the delusion of his narcissism, that distortion field, causes him to deal with it by turning around and saying, "You did that, you placed it, or you've had somebody else in the bedroom." It shows the twin lines of the narcissistic defense. Initially, he just kept denying, "I don't know what you're talking about," and in effect issuing a denial by throwing questions at her instead. But when she produced the earring, there was no doubt that an earring had been found, and therefore denial enough was not sufficient. And therefore, his narcissism caused him to change tack, and instead suggest that she had either placed the earring herself in order to provoke him and have an argument with him, or that she'd had somebody in the bed, and it was their earring that had been found, and that she's the one that was unfaithful. That two-pronged response enables him to maintain a lack of accountability for his behaviour, and to nullify the threat to control. However, she would not back down, and she kept bouncing back, repeating the accusations, expressing her incredulity at what he was saying, and thus repeatedly threatening a sense of control, until ultimately the preposterous nature of what he was proposing, namely that she had placed this earring after having gone and got it modified at a shop, and that they were going to go to the same shop tomorrow to find out that that was the case, basically left her flabbergasted and speechless, so that she decided in effect that she'd had enough. At that point, assuming she walked away, his narcissism had succeeded. It had meant that he was not accountable, and she had backed down, showing that she was under control, and he had been fueled throughout. An excellent example showing a variety of manipulations and the dynamic between an intimate partner primary source and a narcissist. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for watching.